Nicolas, it's up for grabs now!
Magic ball from Bergkamp to Patrick Vieira!
Oh, would you believe it? Oh, right, what a way to get it!
Fabulous solo goal by pierre-emerick.
Evening. Oh, am I getting a bit of feedback? Is that one of us? Is that you? Is that me? Who is that? It might be me, guys.
I can't hear anything. Can you hear anything, Mo?
Yeah, I can hear myself. Guys, in the chats, wait for us. Let's see if we can sort this out. Done. Good evening. Very smooth entrance into the Arsenal lounge on a Monday night.
Not going to let you forget that. I'm just saying.
Mate, who's Shaheen? Who's Shaheen? He is fast become the Darren Anderton of the podcast world. He is officially sick note. He's not here again. And we're starting to think about putting him on a transfer list and looking to replace him in the podcast world. So we'll leave that for the moment, but swiftly moving on.
Transfer window is open. Let me know.
It's a different transfer window for podcasts, isn't it? Because we've got to do it outside of the football transfer window because we've got to be present during the transfer window, Mo. So there you go. It was my... But anyway, swiftly moving on, introducing the usual two that we have on a Monday, our favourite pairing of Mo and Tom. Firstly, Mo, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Actually, do you know what? I've started sneezing loads. I don't know if it's like the season or something. Hopefully I'm not getting ill. Anyway.
Did you go out with Shaheen recently?
No, nothing like that. I haven't got Shaheen's germs. But yeah, all good, man. Not too bad at all. But just bored of flipping international break. Honestly, I've got zero interest to the extent that, like, I'll read or hear somewhere, oh, England are playing. Like, I didn't know. I heard England are playing Switzerland tomorrow. And I was like, oh, right, okay. Like, I don't even know. Even though we've got Arsenal representation, I just find international breaks so dull that mentally I just check out of football because, oh, God, it's boring.
Well, hopefully we could get you to mentally check in again, Mo. So I'll keep you posted on that. And Tom, how are you doing, bruv? You good?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good indeed. Yes, there's a lot of chaos in life at the moment. But other than that, I had a great weekend off. I rarely have a whole weekend off, and I managed to have one. So that was nice. It was mad weather on Saturday, wasn't it? Like for March, it was ridiculous. It was nice. It's like 18 degrees, which in the UK in March is a joke. So yeah, very enjoyable,
mate. It was a lovely weekend, and a good point made there. And just on a more serious note, wishing Shaheen well at home. He hasn't been well. He has actually got COVID, and he sent us pictures to prove it. I don't know. It was like a strange one, but yeah, we were just saying unusually hairy chest. But there you go. It is what it is. Get well soon, Shaheen. We're rooting for you with your slow vid. But anyway, moving on, Mo and Tom, we're going to start with obviously racking my brains because I only found out not long ago that I was hosting again. So we were looking at what we could discuss, obviously. So the usual things. We've got the internationals, which I know really gets Mo excited. So we might start with that. But maybe looking at some of the performances, then what's in the news, and that sort of thing. And then we could maybe look ahead to the Palace game. So we'll be very brief with the internationals, Mo. Try to stay awake. But obviously, I personally done the same as Mo. I didn't watch the internationals. I'm ashamed to admit it, but it's true. Did anyone here watch the internationals? Tom, Mo?
Tom.
Come on, Tom, man. We've got to rely on you, Tom.
I hate international football. I can't stand it. I watch the replays, but there's this kind of myth that I have to watch it. I have to watch Arsenal.
You do. You're breaking the myth here because you're meant to be a journo, and I'm thinking we've got you here. You've got us covered, and you've let me down, Tom.
I think at the end of last week, because the game was on the Saturday, wasn't it? Like I think it was Saturday. See, I don't even know when the game was. It was just a case of it like I just wanted to enjoy a weekend with no football. I had a whole weekend off, which I never have, and I just wanted a detox for a weekend. I didn't even do an 8 a.m. show on Sunday. That's the level of commitment to a detox that was. So yeah, I just stayed away from football as much as possible.
Okay. Well, from what I'm hearing, Ben White, some are saying Ben White done all right, and some in the news are saying he was being criticised for his performance.
He made a mistake, didn't he, apparently, for the goal, which is a mistake in the sense that he misjudged the flight of a cross, and they scored from it. That was the mistake. Other than that, I heard that he did very well, like distribution-wise, playing out from the back. He played on the right-hand side of a back three, which is interesting because, of course, there's ideas about if William Saliba comes back, how do we fit him, Ben White and Gabriel in the team? Well, if Ben White's really performing well in this right-sided centre-back position of a 3, maybe that's something we could do. So, and to be honest, I think he's been the best English centre-back in the league this season, or in the world this season. So, I think
in the world.
Yeah, when you say in the league, that pretty much is, the world's of English centre-backs.
Is there a better English centre-back playing in any other league?
And the Premier League, no.
And Harry Maguire. There's Harry Maguire. Well, listen, we've been watching Harry Maguire for so long. It was probably a nice sort of step up for Ben White because, let's be honest, they're used to seeing so many mistakes from the likes of Maguire. It's probably a nice introduction for him. But look, there was other performances as well. Go on, Mo.
Yeah, I just want to ask, actually, I just want to get your guys' opinion because it's a conversation I was having with someone. When it comes to internationals, right? If you're England manager and you've had a player who has always performed for you, irrespective of their club form. Let's say, for example, the first time you picked them, it was on their club form. They're doing really well for the club, and you get them into the squad, they do brilliantly for you. And then their form is still good, they're still playing for you, still doing really well. Their form tails off a little bit, not enough to drop them. You still pick them, they still do brilliantly for you. And then their form continues to tail off. By the end of it, 12 months later, for example, they're playing rubbish for their club. But every single time you've picked them, they've been great for you. What do you do as England manager? Do you then kind of say, do you kind of say, look, I have to pick you on form. There's other people who, for their club, are doing better than you? Or do you turn around and say, well, actually, when I look at what you've done for me and how reliable you are, your impact on the squad, your influence and your levels in training, your match readiness, your match sharpness, your match track record for me, I'm going to carry on picking you irrespective. Where do you guys stand on that?
That's a good question, Mo, because historically, there's been players that haven't done well in their club football, but then they put on an England shirt and they're suddenly playing really well, and vice versa, right? Because you get the ones that are brilliant in club football and then don't quite hit the heights internationally. I mean, I'm trying to think of more recent examples. I think it was like, who was it? Was it Andros Townsend or someone like that? Where he was absolutely awful, but then he played for England and he was scoring for a little spell. Do you remember that?
Harry Maguire is not a bad shout. I always think that Harry Maguire did a decent job for England when he played, but for Man United, he's laughable.
Awful. Good shout.
And that's why he gets picked. From an Arsenal perspective, I mean, I remember Jack Wilshere when he played for England, had really decent performances and kind of lit up that English midfield. I remember the goal he scored against Slovenia, I think it was, away from home. But yeah, to answer your question, Mo, I think you do. I think you have players that you're loyal to, and you have players that you can rely on, because what happens in the club scene is separate. The environment is different, the coaches are different. It's a different system to what maybe you're playing in your team. And that, say, a player like Kieran Trippier, for instance, has performed really well for England, and that's why maybe Gareth Southgate has really leaned on him in the past, and he's paid dividends because he's been excellent for England in the last 2 tournaments when called upon, and I think that's probably the reasons why he sticks. He gets a lot of criticism though. Like, as you think about Jadon Sancho not getting picked this time and Smith Rowe getting picked instead, and Smith Rowe's not really been playing; he's been coming off the bench, whereas Jadon Sancho's had a really decent goal and assist record over the last kind of 2 months or so. So yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
And the other interesting dynamic of that is, let's say, for example, there's a player who's consistently smashing it for their club, but in the England team, they're not doing it. I find that like historically, watching national teams or whatever, it's easier for a manager to pick a player on club form, even if they're rubbish for England, based on their club reputation and their league form, than it is the other way around. To say, I'm going to continue to pick for England because you're playing well for England, even if your club form is rubbish. I remember Alan Shearer, for example. He almost went a year without scoring for England, but he was relentlessly picked because he was just that good in the league. And then obviously he came good in the end. But I found it interesting that Sancho and Rashford, if I'm not mistaken, weren't picked for England on this occasion. And they're kind of players that I feel like have served Southgate.
Well, Rashford's pretty poor this season, I think. Sancho, absolutely. I'm trying to think of anyone else that didn't get picked that arguably could have been. I think there'll be a couple of forwards that people will be naming in the chat box. But I mean, Paul James says Darius Vassell was great for England, but rubbish for Aston Villa. So.
No, that's a good example. I mean, there's been a few players like that over the years. Close being another one for Germany. Put him in a Germany, put Closer in a Germany shirt, and he was relentless. So, I mean, there's also been historically players that have been brilliant, but just never got picked as well, man.
Yeah.
No, you just couldn't get your head around. I mean, even when Wrighty was scoring for fun in the Premier League, we were wondering when sometimes why he wouldn't get in.
Ray Parlour.
Yeah, Ray Parlour, another one.
Never
It was
got a cap.
the year we won the title.
The Ian Wright thing was about his relationship with Graham Taylor. They just didn't get along, and for that reason, didn't get picked. And you remember Robert Perez, didn't get enough games for France.
Yeah.
And there was someone else actually. Benzema. Look, for how long? Benzema.
There was some undercurrent. Yeah. It wasn't he involved in some sort of? It was a scandal. Wasn't it?
It was a scandal with Mateo
bribery.
Blackmail or something. Allegedly,
like he hasn't got enough money as it is. On that one anyway.
It
is odd.
Club dynamic. But I have to say, this is horrible for me to say, right? But I did. Obviously, you don't want Bukayo Saka to get COVID, right? But if a player is ever going to get COVID, I was just so relieved that actually, do you know what? He's not going to get any muscular injury. You expect with COVID, someone will be fit and raring to go within 2 weeks, and he's not. He plays a lot of games. I think, hasn't Saka featured in every single game for Arsenal this season? Apparently, he's weak and gets kicked off the park, but he's played every single game. And I'm just glad that he's getting a good, long, well-earned rest in time for this run-in. So happy about it.
Does anyone here think that was strategic? I mean, I would imagine Saka would want to play for England. But
what do you mean?
In a sense of, we'd rather give him some rest at this critical time. So, COVID.
No, I think he's got COVID.
You give me more than that.
As much as I love the conspiracy, Lev, it's one of those ones where the club would obviously this would have to be led by the club, right? Saka wouldn't do it for the club. For the club to convince him to do it, I think would be a real tough ask.
No, I agree with you. I mean, as a young lad, you want to play for England, don't you? So I agree.
Yeah.
But I also agree. I was not disappointed to see him not available for that game. I saw a lot of people who were gutted that he weren't playing, but we need that rest, and we've got potentially 3 games in 6 days coming up at some point. So we need all those guys rested. But look, there were also other players on international duty, Martinelli being one of them. Has anyone seen that video going around of him in the training sessions? Mo?
Yeah, it's a great finish into the sort of right-hand corner, isn't it, from the left-hand side? Like
I don't know if I saw an extended one, Tom, but he had a couple of finishes in the one I saw. It was outstanding. It was ridiculous. If you haven't seen it, go and see it, you guys.
I think I saw someone quote it with like, "This guy's going to end up at Real Madrid, isn't he? It's just going to happen." Like,
what? That's a nice segue as well, because we've also heard rumours about Tierney in Real Madrid. What's happening with that?
I wrote about this today. It's basically
I mentioned it.
Hey, the Sunday Post reported this initially that basically that Real Madrid have sent their chief scout to watch Bukayo Saka, and in watching Bukayo Saka, the chief scout basically has gone back to Real Madrid and said actually the player that stood out during that period of time that he was watching Saka was actually Kieran Tierney. Ancelotti is a big fan, as we know, of Kieran Tierney because he tried to sign him when he was at Napoli, and we beat Napoli to the signing of Tierney when we got him from Celtic. So it's an interesting one. It's one of those because he signed a new deal. I think it was in 2021, last summer, that he signed that new contract. So he's now at the club until at least 2026, I think. I think it was like an extension to go for the full 5 years at that point, at least 2025. And if we were to sell him, surely we'd be looking at something like 50-odd million quid to let him go. And that's what they'd have to bid to get him in. But in a weird way, I wouldn't be that worried. I don't know how you feel about this. And the reason why is because I feel like we've shown to be so good in the market last year in 2021 about kind of finding shrewd bits of business that if you move on a player like Tierney, you would be able to find someone to come in based on the back of what we did in the summer to replace him. I don't want to see him go, of course. My priority is keeping him. But if he was, worst case scenario, to move on, I don't think I'd be, all that done in about it, if you know what I mean.
Let us know in the chat. Sorry, Mo. Let us know in the chat whether you'd be up for selling him for 50 mil. Go on, Mo.
50 million. I'm sorry, but a club like Arsenal has to sell Kieran Tierney for 50 million.
Really, Mo?
Yeah. I mean, come on. Like, not that I would want to, but I think being realistic, what would happen? Of course he would. Because can you get as good, or if not better, left back than Kieran Tierney for 50 million in the market? Yes, you can. And, Arsenal have got more requirements for improvements than we do money. it's just very challenging. We need to go and sign a top-level striker. We need all the money we can get for the wages plus transfer fee to attract top striking talent. I would not like to see Kieran Tierney go, though, because even though I feel like he is, I don't think it's impossible to replace him. He's definitely replaceable. He's not a generational Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira type. So
he's just very good.
He's just very, very good. Even like in Gabriel Martinelli, you think to yourself, bloody hell, you'd be scared to let them go because you'd stay up at night thinking, what are they going to achieve now that we've got rid? But I don't think I would stay up at night like that thinking about Kieran Tierney. But the point is, I love Kieran Tierney. I really, really think he's a brilliant professional, and he is, the current Arsenal, Mikel Arteta's new and improved Arsenal, is embodied by Kieran Tierney for me in a way, like doing the right things, working for the team, not in the media for stupid, silly reasons and, acting like idiots or anything like that. We seem like a really focused, hungry team. And their words, focused and hungry and professional, that I think Kieran Tierney embodies. He's my future captain pick. So on that basis, I feel like even though in terms of just talent as a footballer, 50 million is probably good value for him, the importance that he could potentially have long-term on this squad, maybe 50 million pounds is not actually worth cashing in on because of what he can, because of the influence he can have as captain here.
I'll have to disagree, Mo. I wouldn't sell him at all. Not for 50 million. Not at all, because I think the implications of letting him go, it's far more costly because we're trying to build this new Arsenal and we're also trying to come back on the scene as a big club. And I think by us selling, the minute someone comes in for one of our good players, 50 million, dropping 50 million on your left back and just going, yeah, okay, sell him, it sends out the wrong signals for me. I'd rather we say, no, we don't need to sell him. Plus, on top of that, it's not just about, we can find another left back at 50 million or using that 50 million or 20, 30 million. It's whether or not you find another left back with the same mentality, someone that brings that characteristics to the team. And as Mo rightly said, he epitomized Arsenal. When he first bought him, he was one of the first players we saw and went, oh my God, he stands out. That's a different type of player. We haven't had one like that for a while. And it just had a knock-on effect. And I wouldn't do that. I think it sends out the wrong message. I think we should say no to selling our best players. I mean, he's a very good player and he could even get better. What's to say that in a season or two he's not going to be worth more than that?
Yeah, perhaps you're right. It's just a tough one. And the only reason I'm not even kind of ruling it out as in a blanket fashion like you are is because Arsenal have got in my opinion, will have two very, very massively important positions to fill this year in centre midfield and our striker. And I just don't think that we have the cash right now to get those positions into the level of quality required for us to be like a serious Champions League team, for example.
So you're saying we'd have to sell him to buy, is basically what you're saying?
To not one, but to get both at the absolute level of quality that I would love for Arsenal, then yeah, I think there has to be some other movement.
Okay, interesting. Let us know in the chats. Would you sell Tierney? Is he replaceable? Let us know in the chats. That's an interesting one that can go on. There's another one as well, Marcus Rashford. This one will divide the fan base as well and divide the chats. These are good. So Marcus Rashford is the other one. We're mentioning we're looking for a top striker. I don't see Marcus Rashford as a top striker myself personally. He hasn't really proven himself to be thus far. Came with a big reputation, put in some good performances, but recently he's started to sort of fall by the wayside and look a bit dejected. Is it the case of if he goes to another club, he will prevail? Or could it be another Danny Welbeck scenario if we got him? Tom?
Look, I think that Marcus Rashford gets wildly disrespected, to be honest, at the level that he's produced. I mean, excluding this season, and look across the last 3 seasons, he's got over 100 goal contributions from the ages of 21 through to 24 in English football. But from a wide left position mainly as well. He doesn't, whilst we call him maybe a striker, but he's played mainly on the wide left. He's not my first pick by any means of like a wide forward who I would go for. I just think that he's kind of wildly disrespected and maybe underrated by a lot of people. People were very quick to say, no, awful, wouldn't take him. As you said there, another Danny Welbeck scenario. I don't think he would be that. I think he'd certainly, and I think a move to Arsenal could,
He doesn't have
kickstarting
that
his
injury
career.
record as well.
No,
as
of
well,
course
Tom,
not.
does it?
And I think there's a lot more that goes with him as well than just what Danny Welbeck brought. As I said, the goals and assists that he's had at Man United over the last 3 years. And I think that this year you look at Cristiano Ronaldo, say, come into the team and what he's done, where all the focus is now on him. And he's kind of, you think before Greenwood had his situation, you know, all of the focus was taken away from him coming through. So I think that with a player like Rashford, to disregard the idea of it just off the bat, I think is probably harsh. But I think when you look at the other situations with the other options that are out there, like Cody Gakpo is the player I look to, who's a young winger at PSV, who's excellent, and certainly someone that people should look to. 22-year-old, 16 goals, 15 assists this season, playing in a wide left role mainly, can play in the middle. Like, that's the type of player I'd look to go and bring in.
Interesting. Mo, what's your thoughts? I mean, I'm looking at the chats while Tom was, putting his points across. I was listening, Tom, by the way. But, it's dividing us. It's dividing the fan base. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm not surprised it's dividing the fan base. He's a very divisive player because I think, like, a lot of people would agree that he has got a lot of potential. Like, we have seen him play and he looks brilliant. But then equally, he's never really quite had that level of finesse and end product that you want from like a top player. But the thing that nips it in the bud for me is that Rashford, coming from Man United and being a Man United player for quite a while and having his global reputation as he does, would demand a certain wage packet. And I feel like Rashford is a bit of a gamble. I think a good manager can get a brilliant player out of him. I really do. I think Rashford has got an immense level of talent and raw ability, but it's too much of a risk at the money that he would cost to on the wages.
What sort of figures are we talking about, lads? What are we talking about? Do we know?
Look at Arsenal's. If you look at Arsenal's wage structure, for example, there's not even really that many players over 100 grand. Saka's currently 30 grand. They're going to quadruple it to 120 grand, for example. Mm-hmm. You'd expect Rashford to already be earning more than that. And why would he really take much of a pay cut? So I think we're going to have to pay 150 plus for Rashford. And when you look at per week, and when you look at Lacazette's earnings and Xhaka's earnings, they're kind of there or thereabout. And we're looking, I think we'll move them on this year. And I don't think that the club are going to shed too many tears about that because they're high earners. So, yeah, I feel like for Arsenal, who have to be a little bit mindful of the purse strings, Rashford is not worth the risk given the money we'd have to pay for him.
So no for you, Mo, right?
Overall, on balance, yeah. But I think
Tom, it will be a yes for you.
No, it's a no. It's a no for me because I think there's better options. But okay. I just don't think he's as dismissible as, say, a lot of people consider him to be.
I hear what you're saying. He's better than what I do sometimes watch him and think, wow, blistering pace, gets in behind, really dangerous. But maybe he's just lacking in confidence. I don't know. But as Mo rightly said, for us, it's a bit of a risk. He's not the striker that we need, is he? He's not the finished article that we're looking for, somebody that could put the ball in the back of the net as often as we need him to. So for me, it would be a no also. So we could all move on to another one of Tom's articles as well. We're going to question you whilst you're here, because and Mo, you can come in on this too. I read one of Tom's articles in regards to the interview with Emmanuel Petit. He was talking about the Lacazette situation, obviously the need for a striker. He was very clear. He did say we needed a striker, and in his defense, he didn't say Lacazette was the answer long term. He said we need a finisher, but he also suggested that we should be offering Lacazette an extension because he's done so well for the team. He can link up play. If we need him, he's there. If we're in a couple of competitions, he'd be perfect to have as a link up striker. And he's suggesting we should offer him another contract. So I'll start. I mean, Tom, you did the interview. How do you feel about that interview, and where do you stand with it?
Yeah, look, I think Petit made a great point talking kind of about the influence on the team. And I think when you combine that with the scope of what we'd have to do if we got rid of him, which would be to bring in two forwards in one summer, whereas Mo pointed out, we've also got to focus on central midfield and strengthening that area and probably the depth in the side as well. Is it giving us too much to do in one summer window? Are we going to be capable of signing two top quality strikers? Are you going to be able to convince after signing, say, one quality forward to sign another when, you know, they're in a position to say, well, you've just signed, say, £60 million Darwin Nunez or Jonathan David. Why am I going to come when I'm not guaranteed regular minutes anymore? So I get the idea of signing kind of Lacazette up to, say, a 1-year deal max for me. I wouldn't really go to the 2, but there's still this part of me that thinks, you know, the best idea for Arsenal is to probably move on to the next stage with our striking situation. I'm still convinced of that at the moment, but there are a lot of solid arguments, and you know, Manu raised some really, really good ones in the conversation I had with him.
Did you actually speak to him?
Yeah, you can watch the interview on the Arsenal Way if you want to. It's
I'm not that I was doubting you by anything. I just want to
go and watch it.
I'm not suggesting you're making it up and you've got a mate with a long wig at home or anything like that. So you wouldn't, by the sounds of it, you maybe for a year.
I'm leaning towards
no
now. Right now. So yeah, I did disagree.
Okay, Mo. You heard what was being discussed in the interview with Petit. What would you do with regards to Lacazette? Because I'll be honest with you very quickly, I'm very much of the idea that it would be very difficult to replace 2 strikers up top, right? It's going to cost a lot of money. I think it makes sense to have him as I wouldn't feel bad if our main striker was injured or you know, rested and we knew Lacazette was playing. I'd feel quite comfortable with that. So it makes sense to me. How do you feel about it, Mo? You're muted. Or you're miming. Either way. If you are miming, it was really good, by the way.
Cheers, man. Thank you. No, look, Lacazette is a very good plan B, but he's not plan A caliber for a Champions League team. And that's what, at this stage of the season, what I expect Arsenal to be next year. And for a serious team that wants to really compete at the highest level, look, he's not clinical enough, not quite the guy. The problem is, you know, you're asking me, would you sign him up to a 1-year deal? That's not the question. The question is, would he agree to a 1-year deal? And I don't think he would. This is his last opportunity for a bumper contract. You leave a club on a free, you're in your 30s, and you sign a 3-year deal somewhere because the club aren't paying a transfer fee, and that's how you maintain or beat your current wage. There's some players who, you know, they're like a fine wine, they get better with age, and then they can continue to justify that wage based on performance. He can't. He's going to be able to justify to maintain that wage or beat that wage based on the fact that a club aren't paying a transfer fee. Now, you think about this. If Arsenal sign him up to a 1-year deal, for example, and you can even, you know, maintain his wages, he is then risking, what if I get injured next year? Or, you know, what if my form is even worse? What if the offers that I might have on the table this summer aren't there next summer? And then that, when you think about that as a player, and as his agent will be rightly advising him, that is worth millions and millions and millions. You know, you're talking about 10 million quid over 2 years, for example. So it's not worth the risk for Lacazette. At this stage of the season, you always see players going for the longer contract rather than the best weekly wage. So 3 years at 80k elsewhere is going to be better than 1 year at 100k at Arsenal, for example. And for that reason, I don't think he'll stay.
So it's a no from you, leaning towards a no from Tom. I'll probably agree. If it's more than a year, it's a no. If we can get him through another year, it would be a yes for me. Because it simply just buys us a little bit more time. We can get a top quality striker in, have him as backup, and then maybe spend the funds elsewhere where we require it. That would be my stance on it. I'm looking at some of the guys in the chat. William Wallace says, Free Palestine. Thank you, William. Matt Armchair AF, he says he isn't getting his current wages anywhere now. Anyway, a 2-year extension at Arsenal will still be better for him financially than a 3-year deal elsewhere. Maybe.
I'm not sure about that. I feel like, look, there's loads of different clubs with loads of different motives. Just for an example, look at the Turkish league. Fenerbahce signed Mesut Ozil this year. You know, that's going to be costing them a little bit. There's some big players in that Turkish
They've chucked him out the squad now. He's not. He's
not
in the team anymore.
Yeah. Did you see Monreal's interview today as well?
Yeah, I was going to touch on that. It's on my list. Hold tight.
But the point I'm making in the Turkish league, if I said to you right now, don't look at the league table in Turkey, tell me who's in the top 4. Your guess would be Galatasaray, Besiktas, Fenerbahce, you know, those sorts of teams.
Where's the fourth? Where's the fourth, Mo? I want the
Istanbul, Başakşehir. Is that another one?
No, see, I feel like I'm missing out another big.
You got Fenerbahce,
Trabzonspor,
Besiktas. No, they're the 3 big ones.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, anyway, look, you'd be putting them in your top 3. The reality is, those big, historically big teams in Turkey are doing nothing right now. I don't know what's happened to the likes of Galatasaray. I need a Turkish football expert to explain to me what the hell's gone on there. They are well funded. They will be after people. Lacazette would be a massive coup, and they might chuck money at him for 2 or 3 years to address the balance of finding themselves mid-table. That's just one example, but there'll be countless examples of things like that. Could even be a boyhood club thing back in France, you know.
It could even go Dubai or China or something ridiculous like that, Mo.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does maintain his wages.
Or the States even. Yeah, 100%. No, I'm starting to understand. I'm starting to agree with you on that. Hugh says, do you even like Arsenal? Your profile pic doesn't seem... I don't even know what that means. Let's leave him. Right, anyway, so let's move to the next one. As Tom rightly said, Monreal's come out about Ozil. I don't know. Have you seen it, Mo?
No, I haven't.
Oh, some nice surprises for you today, then.
Yeah, man.
So there's been an article. Was it 442, Tom, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 442. Monreal's come out in an article suggesting that whoever had Ozil when he was at Arsenal, it just didn't seem to get on with him, right? So whether it was Wenger, then Emery, and then obviously Arteta. So he was saying he wasn't really... I mean, Emery tried to make him a leader, apparently, and then Emery realised that Ozil wasn't the right fit for their, you know, as a leader, and then it sort of went downhill from there on. He said he was a really nice guy, but he seemed to indicate that he didn't seem to get on with any managers. Have I missed anything, Tom?
Yeah, I got the quote. He said Ozil's problem is that he had problems with everyone. It ended badly with Wenger. He didn't play the last few games with him. Then Emery tried to bring him back and make him our leader. He said eventually he saw that he wasn't at the level required. As a person, he was good with everyone, but he also missed a lot of games through injury. It's a bit conflicting, isn't it? Because he says at the end he was good with everyone, and then at the start of the quote he says Ozil's problem is that he had problems with everyone. So it's a bit conflicting.
Contradictory.
The headline's going to use the first quote without a shadow of a doubt. And look, I think that we've learned that, you know, the brand of Mesut Ozil is always going to be a bit of an issue for football clubs at this stage. I think if you look at Fenerbahce, there was a quote from the president Ali Koch who said that, you know, he needs to kind of, you know, choose. He needs to do it for Fenerbahce while he's playing for us and stuff like that. So it's the thing with Ozil is I think it vindicates the decision that was made. Arteta was right to move him on when we did. We got him off the wage bill to an extent, and that was really important. So I'm looking forward to seeing Arsenal, you know, move forwards from the players that Arteta has moved on from. And I think you seeing a together United group that's progressing in the wake of that and those decisions.
Fair dues. And Mo, what do you think of what you've heard with regards to Monreal?
Pretty interesting comments. When he said, like, because obviously I haven't seen it or read, heard, whatever. When Monreal said he didn't get along with anyone, is he referring to any manager? Is this specifically about managers?
Yes, he was. So, I think he was referring to the management because he did actually go on to say that he got on with the players and he was a nice person.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to understand whether there's a nuance between what you're saying is the conflict there, Tom, and reading between the lines. Is it that he didn't get along with any managers, but he was good to everyone? Like, you know, everyone else was all right, you know. So then you have to ask yourself, why would everyone be able to get along with him, but not the manager? And the manager, I guess, you know, what I'm trying to say, I guess, the kit man, the tea lady, even players can kind of, to an extent, say, all right, I can do my job, and even if you're not necessarily doing yours, to an extent, it does impact the players, right? But, you know, some players might take that view that I can still be seen to be doing well at my job in spite of you not doing your job well, and kind of have that separation. But for a manager, if a player, and especially an important player like Mesut Ozil, isn't doing his job, then that's intrinsically linked to your job and how well you're going to be perceived to be in your job. So I, as a manager, would not be able to get along with someone if I felt like they weren't at the level. So maybe that's what it is, which indicates that, Ozil perhaps wasn't, you know, trusted, committed, you know, the things that a manager would want in a player, which is a shame, a real shame. And also what I find interesting is that if it's Nacho Monreal saying it, I actually listen because he's never, ever has seemed like a petulant, attention-seeking sort of player. So if he's talking, I actually don't feel like he's just doing it for some limelight. He's probably just being honest.
Fair enough. There you go. So there's been some interesting news so far. Everyone in the chats is going on about it. And guys, by the way, check this out. Shaheen. Yeah, great show, guys. What this is a cry for sympathy if I've ever seen one. Great show, guys. I'm watching from my bed. Why would Monreal come out with this now? Shaheen, you don't worry about why Monreal will come out with that now. You just concentrate on getting yourself better, mate. I hope you will. And everyone in the chats, please say hello to Shaheen and Mo and Tom. We're very upset to hear about you. So yeah, wishing you well, Shaheen, and thank you for watching, bro. Right, so then the other bit of news, yeah. So this is one that Mo sort of made sure that I sort of put on the list, and rightly so. Edu and Arteta rumors. So apparently, the silly room, I think they're ridiculous personally, but there you go. The rumors are that there might, things might not be great as great relationship-wise within the ranks as we believe. And Edu is apparently already in talks with Brazil's manager. How's it pronounced? Is it Tite?
Tite. I think it's Tite. Yeah.
Tite. Or if you're Shaheen, it's tight. However, yeah. So Edu and Arteta not getting on. Arteta is looking to be replaced in 2023 by Tite because Edu's out there speaking to him. Mo, I'll start with you on this one. What do you think of these rumors?
I just
you didn't know about it?
No, I did know about this.
Oh, okay.
I just can't believe the timing of it because it's a bit like strange. If it is just absolute nonsense, if it's just complete BS, then then fine because there's no truth in it, so the timing doesn't matter because it's just come out of thin air anyway. If there was any reality to it, I'm just really surprised. I would have thought, given how well it's going for Arteta right now, you wouldn't be doing that because if it does come out as it has come out, and if it was true, it's hardly the way to charm a manager who's doing really, really well into considering, an extension to his deal. And why would you want to be looking elsewhere when something is going so well and the project seems to really be taking flight? So I would hope that it's BS. But what I have heard in the past about Arteta and Edu, and I think the potential attempted signing of Arta was indicative of this, is that perhaps there isn't complete harmony between Arteta and Edu. Now, we obviously don't know if this is 100% true. And it's interesting who the manager is as well. It's Brazilian. Edu's Brazilian. Is this Edu going off on his own sort of tangent in terms of what he wants? And to what extent is Arteta involved, or to what extent has he been respected and valued? Do you know what I mean? In this little venture, I find it a bit odd. So I hope it's not true because the way I am, even if I didn't think that Arteta was the man, he's certainly doing a brilliant job of convincing me. But I just want it to work out for him, and right now it is working out. I don't see why he'd be looking at other managers.
Yeah, strange timing of these rumors as well. Let's be honest here. I mean, Tom, you was obviously on it as well. You know what's going on. Before we go into this, Sheen, stop. What is Lev? I will come after you with my COVID virus for this URI, mate. Lol, you know what I mean. Anyway, if anyone can understand what Sheen's saying there, let us know. If not, can we provide some subtitles of some sort? I don't know. But anyway, Tom.
It's not true. And
Okay.
Tite has actually just confirmed it. I've just Googling to see
Yes,
if there's been any
I've seen
update.
in the chat someone say a minute ago. So we are hot on the press here. We are hot off the press here.
About the information given during the broadcast of the Globo Network, my feeling is very sad, and I get sad because the information is passed on to the public that is a lie. I apologise to Arsenal, but that information did not come from us, and there is absolutely nothing. So there you go.
There you go. You heard it here first on the Arsenal Lounge, guys. There's a couple of super chats I don't want to miss, so hold on. There was one here. So good they named him twice. Ali. Thank you so much for your support, bro. Salam, is there any managers who remind you of Wenger? He's asking. Anyone want to say? Anyone want to comment on that?
In what way though? Like
which Wenger? There's quite a few different Wengers, aren't there?
The guy that makes the actual knives. Was it those?
Yeah,
those pocket knives. You know the ones I mean, or the briefcases. They make got a little square. Wenger, that's Wenger, isn't it?
With that face, it's an interesting one. Like Arsene Wenger was like very principled, very classy. Managers are a little bit different now. I feel like, there's not as many. Like, you got Pep Guardiola wearing Stone Island. You never imagine flipping Arsene Wenger wearing Stone Island, would you? Like, they're different in styles.
Yeah.
But when he's asking that question, I don't know whether he means in that sense, like the surface level, or in the sense of someone who's like unbelievably
I think he meant
loyal.
management style, probably, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Management
so.
style.
Rather than his dress sense or his hairstyle or his
inability to zip up a coat.
Yeah.
No, because what I was thinking in terms of loyalty to a cause, I'd say Simeone at Atletico Madrid.
Okay, fair enough.
He obviously had his head turned many places, and that's.
You mean morally? Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know, it's style of play. No, I don't know. I honestly, I think we saw this in the latter part of Wenger's reign. Football has slightly moved on now. I think it's a lot more tactical, and really, no, I don't look at any team and think they really remind me of that. If anyone, and there's going to be very high praise, it might be Jurgen Klopp, purely because it's such incredibly attacking, brilliant football at times. But even Klopp is slightly more direct than Arsene Wenger, I feel like, ever really was. Do you know what I mean? So,
and he's a bit more jovial and a bit more sort of full of himself.
Yeah, but I think like supremely intelligent Klopp and Wenger, there's similarities there. Players seem to really, really respond to them, really love them. But then that was obviously clearly first half Arsene Wenger rather than second half Arsene Wenger.
Perfect answer that, because we were all saying as Arsenal fans we'd like Klopp to replace Wenger at the time. So that is a good answer. Tom, do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Or anyone else stands out for you?
No, I don't think so. I think he was very unique in what he brought, and I think that he changed the landscape of English football. But ultimately, as Mo said, football passed him by, and he didn't change with the times. He kind of stuck with what he thought would be successful, and he also kind of lent very heavily on the idea that the financial side of the late noughties and early 2010s restricted us from getting where we wanted to go. And he was very proud of the fact that he kept us in the Champions League during those years. There is an argument that, the top four at that time were very kind of separate to those challenging. But there were years that Spurs did get close and we kept them at bay, but it was just Spurs. So I think there is certainly an argument to be had there about the level of achievement it was to keep us in the top four. We should have still been in the top four during those years, in my view. But yeah, look, we'll always remember him as the most successful Arsenal manager, and hopefully one day we can see another Arsenal manager eclipse what he achieved, because it would certainly mean that we're moving in the right direction if that happens.
Well said, Tom. Another super chat in from Issa87 1999, I think he's saying. Thank you for that. Cheers. All right. Okay, so with about 10-15 minutes to go.
Wait a second. Oh, that's so bizarre. Issa, if you pressed send too soon or something, and you've just done a super chat and then not been able to write your question, put it in the chat.
I think they have. I see a question. He said, "Hey guys, if Arsenal miss out on top four, will we still be able to attract top players?"
Well spotted, guys, because that would have been an unfair loss of 1999, and this is why I got you guys here. Thank you so much for doing that. You're absolutely right. What was the question? Sorry, it was.
You scroll up.
He also said you looked sexy, by the way.
Did he?
Yeah. He did. I'm not even joking, mate. I'm not.
You're assuming it's a he, Shaheen. Issa says,
"Oh, you're assuming I'm Shaheen." Mo.
Oh my goodness. I'm so used to Shaheen asking me the questions.
We all look the same, don't we, Tom? Yeah.
Oh, dearie me. 8:39 in the chat. Issa says, "Hey guys, I'm swiftly moving on. If Arsenal miss out on top four, will we still be able to attract top players?"
Well, good question, and definitely worth the 1999 you've contributed. Mo, I'll let you go first.
We've missed out on top four for the last few years. Have we attracted top players? Absolutely. Aubameyang, Thomas Partey, Gabriel,
Tierney, that Real Madrid are after now.
Willian, Saliba, Tierney. So yeah, absolutely, 100%. Arsenal proved that.
There you go. There's your answer, Tom. You agree with that?
I think, you can absolutely still attract top players outside the Champions League. What I would say is that imagine if you've got 100 doors full of players that you can sign, being in the Champions League opens up a lot more of those doors, but not being in it doesn't close them all, is probably the best way to describe it.
Fair enough. Now, guys, with about 10 minutes to go, we're going to open the floor for questions. So if you've got any really good questions, start whacking them in now. Before we do that, I wanted to go on to, obviously, Monday. Next Monday is the Palace game. Monday the 4th, right? Is that correct? anyone actually listening to me?
Sorry, yeah. I was replying to a message.
There's a podcast going on here, guys. Just thought I'd let you know.
Hey, I'm getting involved in your chat box.
Hey, that's my birthday, by the way, Monday the 4th. So, you know what I mean? We need a win here. So the Palace game is coming up. Obviously, Palace are in good form. Vieira seems to have done a really good job with them guys at the moment. He's got them playing good football and they're winning a lot of games. So, oh, by the way, I've got Shaheen's prediction. Unlike Shaheen, you know, he left us in the lurch last time. I've got his prediction. COVID or no COVID, I'm not messing around with this game. Anyway, so coming up with the game on Monday, Mo, how do you think it's going to go and how do you feel about it? Because Vieira has really done something with Palace, and is it a worry or do you know, how do you see it going?
Look, it's a really tough one. I feel like with Palace, it's hard to predict how, not so much what team's going to turn up, but I feel like they're a very hard team to predict. And I'm looking at the form table right now. Last 5 games, lost 1, drawn 1, drawn. You know, that really backs up how I feel about them. It is a tough place to go as well. And also, Selhurst Park is probably one of my joint favourite away days in the Premier League. I feel like they've got a really, really good home support. It's an old school stadium, and you know they get behind their team. There's a section that never stops singing. I rate their support a lot. It will be a tough place to go to. So I'm nervous, but I feel like we'll do it. I feel like Patrick Vieira will do us a favour. And
who are the players that worry you from Palace? Who should be?
Zaha is the absolute obvious one. He has really developed a knack this season. He's becoming a bit Robin-like, but doing it left to right rather than right to left, cutting in and finding that far corner, like with just ridiculous ease at times. He really is a massive threat. And Gallagher as well in the middle of the park, one of the players of the season, absolutely one of the players of the season in my book. So it's not going to be easy against them, but I do feel like Arsenal on such a good run. The only tough thing is that after international break, have you, for example, lost that momentum? And do you kind of come back not in that 5th gear momentum that you were in, sort of like down a notch or two? Thing is, that can be true of Arsenal and Palace, but I think Arsenal had more to lose given how good our form was. But fingers crossed, I think we'll go and nick it. I won't give my prediction yet, but I think we'll go
keeping us waiting for that prediction. Tom, I know you're obviously doing what you do, you're tireless, you don't sleep, you're always watching every single game, apart from the internationals, obviously.
Yeah.
But who stands out for you as the threats for us, and where do you see this game going?
Yeah, look, Palace has historically been a very difficult fixture for us away from home. I've gone a few times and I've still never seen us win there. I'm not going, you'll be glad to know. Still want to be the bad omen in that game whatsoever. And it's annoying because I love going to Selhurst Park. I think it's a great game for an away fan to go to. It's one of the best.
Not too far as well. You can go
exactly. And they've got, they make a great atmosphere in Selhurst Park as well. And if you can get anything over them, which unfortunately I've never seen so far, it's I'm sure it would be a great experience extrapolating.
Are you going on Monday?
No, I'm not.
Good,
don't worry,
good.
Don't worry.
Judging by your records, good job.
I think in terms of threats, obviously you look at Zaha as one of the big ones. The striking situation is always tough with them. They never seem to, they've never been able to really grab hold of a prolific forward. I mean, they've gone
using
through
Benteke.
Mateta has started quite a few games.
Well.
Edouard hasn't really hit the ground running since he went there. There's still links with Eddie and Nketiah.
Didn't we?
Yeah, I talked about that with a friend the other day. There's a lot of people that called for Edouard, and I wasn't really sold by him. Not to say because it's the Scottish League, because Tierney's coming in done fantastically well, and we've seen other players join from the Scottish League and do well. So it's not that. I don't know what it was. There just wasn't enough to convince me that he was the right player to go for, and I think he's proven that this season. But the threats are still there. Elise has got a little bit of an injury issue apparently. He returned from the French.
Yeah, that's why I didn't include him in my list, because from what I understand, he might not be fit. And that would be a big bonus for Arsenal, because I think he's got the most assists for Palace in the league this season, if I'm not mistaken, even more than Zaha, who he's got more goals and assists, actually, Zaha, this season. He hasn't really been much of a creator. But Elise is one hell of a player, so it'll be useful for us if he's not available.
Yeah. Eze is the other one, of course, isn't it? Like Eze is. I'd love Arsenal to go and sign him. I really think that if you've got a core of attacking midfielders like Eze and Smith Rowe and Ødegaard, that's exciting. And I think that we're looking kind of who can replace Granit Xhaka, who can take that number 8 role to the next level and make us more expansive, more progressive, more creative from that side along, like on the other side to Ødegaard. I really think that Eze could be a fantastic option for that position. So I'd like to see it.
Interesting. So hold on to your prediction. Shaheen, if you're still in here, you could just drop the prediction into the chat from your bed, obviously. Wayne Sage, thank you again for your support, brother. You're always here, and you're always supporting our club with our channel with donations. So thank you so much. We'll stop them like Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. Keep my club's name out your mouth. It's difficult when you're doing a YouTube channel based around it, but we'll try. So look, we're saying it's going to be a difficult game. We'll hold on to the predictions for a second. I'll maybe make that the last thing we do. Let's have a look in the chats and see what people are saying, what they're asking, because I've seen a few questions in here. There was an influx in them. So let's have a look where they've gone. There we go. Sorry about this, gents. If you see any yourselves, yeah, here we go. Question for Tom. There are a group of Arsenal fans who their favourite players are Pepe, Saliba, Guendouzi. Thoughts? Hashtag Arteta bringing the humble pie. Don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think that there are. I think if you don't particularly like Mikel Arteta, it does make natural sense to lean towards the players that aren't either being given many minutes or he's decided to let go of. That's just naturally the way it goes, isn't it? So you can understand why. It doesn't make any doesn't make any sense really, other than the fact that you're supporting players that the manager doesn't like. But yeah, it doesn't. But I mean, Guendouzi looks like a bit regretful. I think the way in which Arteta handled it could have been done better. Maybe we could have protected that asset, but it just probably was wrong place, wrong time in the end. Pepe, you got bukayo Saka ahead of you, so it's really difficult for him. And I also think that we could probably, for the level that we invested, I don't think we've seen a return on that, even when Saka wasn't necessarily there to give him the competition. Saliba, we don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. I think there was one more. Was there not another player? I don't remember who did it. The other player was Saliba, Guendouzi, Pepe, Aubameyang. Aubameyang. Look, Aubameyang is I think we've done that one to death. To be honest, I think we've talked about that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
We made the right choice, and both parties have benefited from it. So
yeah, we're playing better without him. Simple as. So we'll move on. I'll give this one to Mo. Should we try Martinelli as our number 9 next season? Emile Smith-Rowe on the left, Ode on the 10, Saka on the right, and invest money saved in a WCCM.
In a world-class CM. But the thing is, then you have to ask the question, well, what happens if Martinelli gets injured? He's not going to play 90 minutes, 38 games, especially if we're in Europe, which will at least be in Europe. So I don't think it's feasible for us to look at it like that. We need to sign a striker. If you're saying, do we put Martinelli as our first choice striker and then get someone else, or I don't know, a Balogun, for example, as our second choice striker, I don't think that's a strength in depth that we need. And I personally feel like this position is too important. This is the position that wins you games. So I feel like we need to add there properly.
Yep. Tom, what do you think? Very quickly.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Mo just said. There you go.
Right, Hugh Merisa, another regular. Thank you, bro, for your question. How many of the top games left do you think we will win? Man United, Spurs, West Ham, and Chelsea. Because this is interesting. Because I've actually, if you want them, guys, just let me know. I've actually got all the remaining fixtures. So, how do you feel about these games here? Because I think we had Dan and Lee on the show on Friday, and it was quite. It was quite interesting, the question with regards to Martinelli, because we were saying, look, what happens if Lacazette gets injured? Then we were saying to use Martinelli, but then it's a different way of playing, we were saying. So if you look at this question here in regards to how many of the games left do you think we will win, Dan was saying we needed to win probably out of those bigger games 2 to 3 to make sure, as well as obviously winning the games with the so-called lesser teams around us. How do you feel about that? I'll start with you, Mo. I mean, do you think the same? How many of those games do you think are winnable for us, realistically?
Look, the thing is, 3 of them are away. 1 of them is at home. It's only Man United at home. Chelsea, West Ham, Tottenham are away. That's a big factor. But what I would say is that, talking about needing to win those games, actually, I don't mean this in a cowardly way. Obviously, that's what we should be aiming to do. But we actually don't need to win them. The teams below us in the league need to win them. We can afford to make sure that the other teams don't win them. Arsenal can afford to do that. and make sure we win our other games. So that's the first thing. All the pressure is actually on the other teams. They have to win those games. Arsenal right now, we've played a game less than Tottenham, a game less than Man United, and we're 3 points ahead of Tottenham, 4 points ahead of Man United. It's a really, really good position to be in. So, I mean, obviously that can all change very quickly if we go and lose against Palace and they go and win. Then all of a sudden, yes, we can't really afford to just draw, because each game we draw of those, another team in that group will win their game and bridge that gap. But if we can just win the games other than those, we can get away with actually drawing them and taking points away from those teams in that sense. But I won't sit on the fence with this. Man United, I think we will beat them at home. Okay. Chelsea, Tottenham, West Ham, I think we'll probably lose one of those and draw the other two.
Okay. Fair enough. Tom, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, maybe a little bit more confident.
Dan actually got a lot of stick from the Friday show because he actually suggested the same thing. We don't have to win those games.
No. Maybe
not lose a couple of them and win one or two of them, as long as we're more consistent with the remaining fixtures that we have outside of those, because of the buffer that we have, we could get away with it. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, we have to win the winnable games. We have to beat Palace. We have to beat Southampton. We have to beat Everton. We have to beat Newcastle. We've got to beat these teams that we know that we can get results against. Leeds, I think we've got a home as well. We have to win that game. Then we come up against these other teams. Sorry, go on.
Well, I just want to say one thing. It's strange to me that you mentioned Dan got stick about that, because the proof will be in the pudding. For anyone that did criticize Dan, or here's what me and Tom and you were saying, for example, and thinking, oh, it's a lack of ambition or something like that. Just watch the games. Just watch the games for yourself. If we're 0-0, 1-1, and there's 10 minutes to go, Arteta won't be making attacking substitutions. This is about managing your running. And as much as we want to win the games and we want to see us go and do that, that's our ambition. We're talking like this is just an experienced view of what a title running is, and the importance of those 6 points of games is catastrophic to lose those games. You can't lose, but you don't have to win, given that we're ahead of them in the league. It's just
good point, Mo. I'll come back to you, Tom, in a second. I mean, you could probably guarantee that they sat there in the club with players and they've gone through all these fixtures and saying, listen, this is what we need to do, and giving them targets. Tom, you might know a little bit more with regards to this.
Yeah, look, I think they're taking it game by game. I think that's all they're going to do. Is they're not looking at, they're not looking at Spurs, they're not looking at United, they're not looking at these games, they're looking at Palace, and they're going, look, let's just tackle that game, get 3 points, move on. If we don't get 3 points, compartmentalize it, move on to the next one, and just see where we are. Don't look at the table, just win the next fixture. And as long as we're doing that, we're on the right path. And I think that's the thing that's been so successful, and probably why you've seen such kind of exuberant celebrations, because once they've won that game, that's mission accomplished in terms of, that specific fixture.
Good point.
So they're not looking ahead to what's going on, and they're not looking at the table. They've been told, win the next game. And if you achieve that, you've done your job. So celebrate it. So I think that's probably why we've seen it that way.
But the manager would have done what you're talking about, Lev.
Yeah, 100%. This is what I'm saying. This is what the fans look at this.
Yeah, not with the players, though. I agree. Like, in terms of what Tom's saying, the focus when it comes to communicating to the players will be next game. But Arteta would have plotted it out. He absolutely would have plotted it out.
And his tactics would be relevant to that as well.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not being funny, right? But if I was Mikel Arteta and we have April 20th, Chelsea away, April 23rd, United at home, May the 1st, oh no, sorry, it's Southampton 16th away, Chelsea 20th away, Man United 23rd at home. If I was Mikel Arteta, I would have been going through all of this, and I'd be planning a little COVID interference in that week. That's right.
Wait, you lot were mocking me earlier with my conspiracy theory
with
regards to Saka and the international, and now all of a sudden you're suggesting we should be carrying it.
I'm not saying that's what Arteta's doing. I'm not saying that conspiracy is there. I'm saying that's what I would be doing. That's what I would be doing. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not jeopardizing top four for anything. If it has to be a COVID thing, we'll do a Klopp. Get it done.
Or we could send Shaheen round to the dressing rooms. We could do that as well. Issa again, super chat says $9.99. Thank you very much.
Did you find the question?
No, if anyone can find his question,
I found it.
Oh, you found it. Oh my God,
8:53
it's
in
like
the
putting
chat box.
together a puzzle with Israel. He sends the super chat. Then has he done it all in one sentence, or is he broken up sentences?
No,
in
it's
the
one
chat as well?
comment. If you go to 8:53 p.m. in the chat box, you'll be able to find it.
8:53 p.m. So the money's come first.
He's making us work. He's
which
making
is
us
good.
work on the super
Yeah,
chat,
it's like Cluedo.
Yeah. He says, this isn't an Arsenal related question, but why did you guys think that PSG rejected Madrid's bid last year?
for Mbappe.
For Mbappe, yeah.
Very quickly.
Because him there being there is worth more than the money is to them.
Yeah. And also, it's like for someone like that rich and what their ambitions are at PSG in football, it would, I think, almost be like you can't sell. That doesn't tie in with their ambition. They're just going to flex their muscles and say, "I'm never going to." They're above money. They're so rich. So,
There you go. Listen, we're getting to that point where we're getting to the prediction side. And Shaheen, you typed "get." You could have put that in a super chat, yeah. But anyway, he's asking, can we get a reminder? I think of the prediction table, who's leading and who's lost. Can also remind you who's here and who's not. There we go. There's another one. But anyway, you
get an extra point in the table if you attend the podcast. I'm pretty sure.
I think you should lose points for not attending. Personally, myself, I mean, that's what, two now. So he should be top 2 points, I think, in my opinion. But there you go. But look, prediction time. Mo, Palace, Monday night. It's my birthday. What's it going to be?
2-1 Arsenal.
2-1 Arsenal. Let us know in the chats what your prediction is for the Palace game. Gooner Vettel also says 2-1. Tom?
2-0 Arsenal.
You see, now this is where it starts to get a little bit difficult, right? Because I'm trying to catch up. So one of these predictions
was yours.
Was mine.
Yeah.
Now, I could go for it, but then if I'm playing catch up, maybe I need to sort of risk it and go.
This is what I do with fantasy football, and it's why I lose fantasy football.
Differential.
So you just need to, the thing is, if you pick one of our choices and we get that right, you'll gain on one person. You won't gain on the other.
Well, we'll gain on two, won't we? Because Shaheen might get it wrong too. So I don't know. So I was going to go for 2-1 because I can't see us keeping a clean sheet against the likes of Zaha.
Let's look at this logically, right? If you truly believe that it's going to be 2-1, and that's what you were thinking before all this outside interference, why would you then choose something that you believe less in?
Because I'm torn between trying to catch up with this game that we're playing, this prediction game.
But the best way to catch up is to do what you think is going to say what you think is
going
to
happen. Well, it clearly isn't because I'm losing.
Right. So 4-0 Palace then.
4-0 Palace. Right. I'm going to go 2-1 Arsenal as well. There you go. And for you guys, just to let you know, Shaheen, he managed to text me just about from his hospital bed. It was really difficult to understand what he was saying. But that's nothing to do with the COVID. It's just a normal text from Shaheen. But anyway, he said 1-1.
Right. And Tom, sorry, what was yours again? I'm just jotting them down.
2-0 Arsenal.
And could you please remind the Slovid COVID what the table is at the moment? Because he wants to hear, and it might cheer him up to hear that I'm bottom.
There we go. Shaheen on 8 points in first place with 1 perfect score. Tom on 7 points in second place with 1 perfect score. Myself in third place on 6 points with 1 perfect score. Oh no, Shaheen's got 2 perfect scores. Sorry, Tom's got 1.
Yeah, he got 2-2-1s right, didn't he? Didn't he get the 2-2-1s or something?
Yeah, he's just that guy that bets on red all the time and waits for it to come in. Yeah. That's what he is. Just keep saying 2-1 all the time.
Lev, I'm not finished, mate. Let me just complete.
Try to interrupt the table.
We're running out of time now. So cool.
And Lev, bottom of the league on 4 points and 0 perfect scores. His hands are already halfway into his wallet to dish out that expensive £200 meal for all of us. Unfortunately, relegation zone Lev.
Listen,
what
it's a tough battle down there, but I'll get out of there. I promise you.
What was your prediction, Lev?
What, just now?
Yeah.
It's 2-1.
2-1. Okay.
Yeah. I've gone 2-1. Shaheen's gone 1-1. Yeah, Shaheen's already. Look, he's so ill, Shaheen. He's so ill, but he's got enough energy to go. I got 2 right. Don't do me dirty. Lol, Lev, you are taking us out, mate. Are you meant to be ill, mate? Like, what? It seems like the cure for COVID seems to be Lev. That's it. So there you go, mate. You know, a bit of Levy loving. So as long as it's making you feel better, Shaheen, you know, that's good. So we've made our predictions. We've got a long ass wait. We've got a week to go. But, you know, we're doing well. Our players are still all right. They're still fit. Everyone seems okay. So let's hope, you know, we get that result on Monday. Anything you guys want to add before I come across? If you haven't subscribed already, what the hell are you doing? Stop freeloading. And secondly, if you haven't liked, please like. It costs you nothing. You know, smash the like, tap the like, do what you want, but just give us a like. Yeah. Dean, what is this? Dust off that wallet, Liv. All right, mate. No worries. You lot. I'm telling you, I'm not going to lose this. But anyway, anything you guys want to add before we go, Mo? Where could these guys find you? Not like they don't know, but let them know where what you got coming up, if anything.
I just want to decide where we're going for this meal so I can start looking at the menu. I want to make sure that I get my money's worth out of you.
No worries, bruv. We've got KFC.
At the moment, Jane's picking, so,
mate,
you know.
And if we're going to go really high class, we go Zizzi's with a rustic fireplace.
No, nothing from me. Listen, everyone, enjoy yourself and stay safe and have fun chatting about this Will Smith, Chris Rock thing.
Yes, and if anyone says anything about your missus, do not go around slapping them unless it was, you know, it was a Will Smith level thing. Then you can do it. Tom, I know you always get into fights for your missus every weekend.
Scraps every weekend.
Don't look at her
on Twitter anyway. Yeah, thanks for having me on as always, boys. Absolute pleasure to join you. I want to ask you boys a question to wrap things up. Actually, someone asked me this question. What is your favorite non-football related YouTube channel that you binge all the time?
Easy. If you was to guess what mine was, Tom, what would it be?
Some conspiracy theory thing is what I'd go for.
Close.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan all day long.
Okay. Do you know what? I like watching car stuff, so it'd be like Car Wow or something like that. But I came across
Wow. What the hell is that? Is that porn for cars?
No, just
watch me toot that horn.
I don't know what car porn is. I just like when I say I like
Car Wow.
They don't arouse me. I just like.
Oh, actually, I've seen a documentary. I've seen a documentary with people that are into their cars and bikes. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's a weird one. But anyway.
Weird. But do you know what? It's a shame I don't have my phone around me at the moment, right? But I started watching this video earlier where this guy was talking about Russia, Ukraine, the impact on gas prices, how Putin is reacting in terms of saying, I'm only going to accept purchasing of Russian gas in rubles or your currency, not the dollar, and what the dollar is tied to, the impact that it's having where they've taken Visa and MasterCard out of Russia and what opportunities that's opened up for another payment method, and it's accelerating the de-Americanization that America has in the world, and it's unbelievably interesting. So I don't subscribe to many. I'm not much of a YouTube watcher. I just don't have the time.
Of course, you subscribe to this channel, Mo. Of course.
Of course. But I was just thinking, do you know what? I want to listen to this guy all the time. The level of knowledge he's got about these macro factors that impact our lives. Like, for example, we've all heard that gas prices are going high, and they're not going to take Russian gas. But then what you don't think is that these are all connected via pipelines. So what do you need to do now if you're getting gas from a place that isn't connected on that pipeline? They have to liquefy this gas. It takes up 17% of its original size. They then have to put that on shipping and stuff. Can you imagine all the infrastructure cost of gas is already being incurred, so we don't have to pay much more. But now they're not using that infrastructure. They're going to put it on a ship, and there'll be new staff people and security and this and that and the other. All of that's going to be passed on to us. It's just really, really interesting. So
link me that.
I'll retweet it. I'll retweet it later, actually, because I just thought, you know what, this guy is very knowledgeable, very interesting. Seems to be quite objective. I don't like it when I feel like it's propaganda. Seemed to be quite objective, and was talking about sanctions and all sorts. Really interesting stuff, and really broadens the mind.
Well, Mehmet's asking what that channel's called, Mo. You're giving it a big up. Do you know the
You
actual
know
name of
what?
it?
I will have to.
Watched it, knows all about it. Don't
He
remember what the
loves
channel
it.
is.
He loves it
He
so
was
much. He doesn't know the name of it.
he was
Yeah,
just gassed. That's
But
what
I
it
was
was.
fascinated by it. I will find it and retweet it later. So just check out my Twitter, and I'll make sure I do that for you guys.
There you go. For Mo's podcast sort of reviews and selections and recommendations, keep an eye out for his tweets. And Tom, anything you'd like to add with regards to gas and all that shenanigans? Or
No, that was it. I might end the show now with a random question though for everyone else, and that's
Cool.
how I'm going to do it.
what,
Yeah.
like you just did? You mean?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
another
Mine,
one.
by the way, to be fair, this is the real guilty pleasure. And if you haven't watched it and started watching it, you need to start watching it. It's called the Hoof GP. That's what you need to watch, as in like a cow's hoof GP. It's ridiculously addictive. It's silly.
Is it to do with cows?
Yeah, it's trimming cows' feet, and it's ridiculously addictive. It's mad.
Are you serious?
I'm absolutely serious. Go and watch it.
You got a bit of a fetish.
Mate,
Has
the
anyone
channel's
told
got
you
like
that?
1.5 million subs. Go and watch it. It's mad.
There's 1.5 million weirdos watching cows
It's
getting
really
their feet.
addictive. It's really
And he
addictive.
remembered the channel name, unlike Mo. That's how much he loved it. 1.5 million. If you want to watch cows getting their feet trimmed, that's the channel to go
Hoof
to. I know
GP.
we've all been
Check
asking
it
that
out.
question. Where can we
So
watch
good.
it? And that's
So
where you
good.
find it. Hoof GP. So it's almost like, look, it's almost like the top,
It's so
top-
good.
top gear of cows' feet. That's what it is. On that note, what a weird outro that was. On
That's how
that
it's
note,
done.
guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Mo, Tom, loved having you here. Thank you for supporting me whilst Shaheen's sort of seeking sympathy and loving his like league positions and all of that shenanigans. Thank you so much for coming and joining us. Thank you guys in the chats. Love you guys as always. Loads of questions in there, loads of interaction. Please, in the comments, put in there, anything that you've heard today, whether it's the Tierney rumors, Marcus Rashford, the Arteta rumors. Let us know if you think there, if there's any scope in it or what you think of it. And let us also know your predictions for the Palace game this coming Monday. If you need me to change my mind, let me know. Drop them in the comments. So, guys, that's us here in the Arsenal Lounge. That's Mo. That's Tom. I'm Lavanja. Peace out.